You got like 3 guys coming. Oh, killed it. I threw a nade and didn't get them. Nope. Covering on your left side.
Hey guys, what's up? My name is T-Space and welcome back to another episode of Off the Tee, where you, the viewers, ask me a question relative to Battlefield 3 or off the topic of Battlefield 3, whether that be a personal question or another game. So it's been a while. I know I haven't been posting anything, but given it's my spring break, I kind of wanted to spend it with a couple of my friends that I haven't seen in a while. And overall, we had a great time. We caught up with stuff and yada yada yada. You know, the works. So overall, I'm back and I'm gonna start this episode off with a guy named Triple OOT. And basically, I met Triple OOT way back when. He's a good friend of mine. He's very kind, and overall, he's just a great player. So his question is, I met Apple and Zero through you, but how did you meet the two of them in the first place? So I met Zero, first of all, back in Bad Company 2. I played Squad Deathmatch a lot, and apparently he did too. We also played on the same exact server pretty consistently. So whether we wanted to or not, we got used to each other and we got to know each other a little more. I didn't actually start talking to Zero until I think maybe at the beginning of, or actually towards the end of Bad Company 2. And overall, you know, we pretty much just had a good friendship from then. We joke around and whatnot. We pull pranks in game, like doing stupid stuff. I don't know, like defibbing, repair tooling, or something stupid. And overall, you know, it just kind of happened. The way I met Apple was kind of technically through Zero and another person called Eagleman. And they were both picked to play in this tournament called the PTFO tournament. I'm pretty sure most of you guys have heard of that. It's been about a year since that tournament has happened, so I've known Apple for about a year now. And basically, they came to me, Zero and Eagleman, asking if they can use my server. Of course, it wasn't my server. It was my friend No Pants Heroes server, but I could admin for the server. So they asked me, you know, to set up the server for them so they can play this match. And overall, you know, it worked out. So, you know, I set it up for them, and lo and behold, I was setting up a server for Apple Teeny and Dark Liberator. That's pretty much the first time I met Apple. Now, when I got into the same TS as them, Zero T actually kind of fluffed my story a little bit. He kind of promoted me in a way that I personally don't like. I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys know me already, that I don't like to, you know, I don't like to gloat. I try to be as modest as possible, because I feel guilty when I boast or whatever. So overall, you know, when Zero started showing me off in a way, I don't know, I felt kind of uncomfortable, like, okay, Zero, you don't have to do this for me, man. I'm just here to help. And you know, Apple checked out my channel, and that's pretty much what happened. The rest of it's pretty much history. I started playing a lot with Apple Teeny and Zero T at the same time, and we had great matches. We had very fond memories, and overall, you know, that's pretty much how I met those two players. And you know, I'm glad I have. The internet has provided me with these options, and it's pretty fucking awesome. So hopefully that answers your question. Apparently, I just can't speak today. But let's move on to the next question. The next question comes from Cormac, and he says, what upcoming games are you looking forward to? Also, what games do you play but do not record and post, if any? So I don't know. I'm not really looking forward to that many games. I don't know. I guess Battlefield 4 is something that I look forward to. Although I don't want to have my hopes up too high for Battlefield 4, just given that I'm kind of on the fence of what's going to happen to it. I want the game for Battlefield 4 to be balanced first, in a way. I mean, I view a game, if it is balanced, it means it's fun. If it's not balanced, then it's not fun. So hopefully Battlefield 4 will be that, but who knows. Games that I play but don't record, I would have to say the main game that I play, I don't play it as much as I used to, but I used to play it a lot in past months, was Guild Wars. I like Guild Wars a lot because it was a very calm game, but recently I haven't been into it as much just because, I don't know, the players that I usually play with aren't on as consistently as I want them to be, so overall I kind of burned myself out just playing by myself, if that makes sense. I know it sounds pretty depressing and lonely, but that's pretty much what happened. So that's the reason why I don't record it, and I'm on top of that, I'm pretty sure you guys don't really want to watch me play Guild Wars. It's kind of a hard game to watch in a way. I mean, if you don't understand or if you don't like the game personally, then it's clearly going to be a hard game to watch or to understand for that matter. So hopefully that answers your question, Cormac, and let us move on to the next question. The next question comes from East, and he says, what do you think you're going to do when you complete your communications course? I mean, what are you going to do for work? To tell you the truth, I haven't really thought about it too much. I am really not too sure, given that communications is a pretty broad major. I could pretty much go wherever I feel fit. I mean, right now, I kind of want to take just... This is super corny, but I kind of want to take that journey to, in a way, find out what I do like. I mean, given that my generation was kind of the generation where they told us that we could do anything, which is, you know, it's cool. Like, there's no limitations on what we could do. If you wanted to become the president, then you could become the president. But that's something that, at the same time, I didn't like. It gave us too many options, and overall, it made me super indecisive. Like, throughout my entire childhood, I had multiple options that I wanted to be. I wanted to be a magician. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be, you know, this and that. And then overall, you know, as I got older, these things started to, you know, become, I don't know, less interesting to me. I just didn't feel like, okay, well, if I want to do this, then I have to do that. I didn't feel like I wanted to get tied down to something that I truly didn't want to do. And now I just haven't found that thing yet. So I'm still, I guess, kind of searching in a way, and communications is just kind of something that will hopefully push me forward towards what I want to actually do for the rest of my life. So I know that kind of didn't really answer your question, but overall I hope I answered it in the best way possible. So moving on to the next question. The next question comes from Android Geek, and he says, if you could travel anywhere for 2 weeks, where would it be and why? And okay, so he tells me I can't go to Australia because everyone wants to go to Australia to meet Appletini. So, okay, since I can't go to Australia, given that this question states it, where would I want to be for 2 weeks? I don't know. I kind of want to take a tour around Europe. I mean, that would be really sick. Just taking a 2 weeks tour around Europe. I mean, that probably would not be possible given that I'm pretty sure I couldn't take a tour, or yeah, I couldn't take a tour of Europe in 2 weeks. I mean, I don't know. I guess it could be possible, but overall, it would feel a little rushed. So I don't know. I would like to go somewhere in Europe. I don't know exactly where. I mean, the whole, I guess, general things is, oh, I want to go to Paris. I want to go to the UK or something like that. You know, the major cities. But I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to just go somewhere in Europe that I haven't been before, whether that be, you know, one of those big cities or a very remote place that, you know, has, I don't know, amazing scenery or something like that. So somewhere in Europe would be my answer. I would like to go to Europe for maybe 2 weeks. To where, once again, I have no idea. I'm not really too sure. I'm pretty indecisive when it comes down to it. But I'm pretty sure Europe would be the place to go if I wanted to spend my 2 weeks somewhere. So hopefully that answers your question. And let's move on to the next one. The next one comes from Solo Man, and his question is, so my question is, or has to do with esports. What esports has done with StarCraft 2, with the GSL and the MLG is huge. And do you think that if EA does the same thing, or adds spectator mode, would Battlefield 4 be a contender for an esports game? So overall, I would have to say, yeah, I would say adding a spectator mode would inch its way closer towards being an esports game. But given that that's not the only thing Battlefield 4 needs to become, there are a lot of things that add into becoming an esports game. First off, the game that you mentioned, StarCraft, is probably going to be the most balanced game. In a way, I mean, there's very huge debates on whether, you know, certain races are more overpowered than what races. I mean, at the time, I think Terran is probably going to be the most overpowered race in HOTS. If you don't know what HOTS is, it stands for Heart of the Swarm. It's the newest expansion for StarCraft 2, and overall the drop ship system in HOTS is kind of powerful. With the extra boosts that the medevacs get, it makes Terran a little bit overpowered, or at least in my eyes, it kind of does. But for those of you who don't know exactly what I just said, don't worry about it. It's just, you know, me explaining my, I guess, hopefully background to StarCraft 2. But anyhow, for Battlefield 4, in my opinion, I would have to say if Battlefield 4 would want to become an esports game, they would have to have spectator mode, and at the same time, they would have to split it up. Now, what I mean by splitting it up is I want to split up the competitive scene with the casual scene, and on top of that, within the competitive scene, I want to split up the vehicles versus the infantry. So starting off, casuals versus competitives, it should be completely separated just because they don't really mix that well. You have the competitive players being extremely well at the game, and then the casual players that kind of just want to goof off. I mean, either side is fun to play with, but overall, mixing them together can be quite troublesome. The same thing with infantry and vehicles. So far now, I mean, most games that involve vehicles and infantry have a hard time, I guess, blending the two together. Meaning, either one side's going to be imbalanced, or they're just going to be broken. Like, I mean, let's take Battlefield 3 for an example. The way they balanced the infantry versus vehicles have still not been, made clear. Let's say, for an example, the chopper. The chopper was probably one of the most debated things, along with, other air vehicles like the jet. But overall, the chopper was like, okay, the chopper has 2 flares at the beginning of Battlefield 3, and overall it made it almost impossible for the choppers to go down because they could pretty much just coordinate or alternate the flares. And overall, if you try to lock onto a chopper, it would pretty much be impossible. You would have to get them at that specific point in order to get that perfect shot off. So I don't know. I would have to say if Battlefield 4 wants to be an esports game, just separate a lot of things because it would make it a lot easier to balance these things and overall hopefully make it a lot better. On top of that, one more thing, there shouldn't be an aspect in a game that takes control of what the player can or cannot do. And this, of course, is suppression, the thing that I despise the most in Battlefield 3. This thing takes control of the player, and overall, it makes him so that he can't do what he, is made to do. Counter-Strike, for an example, is something that doesn't need suppression, but it is implemented, mentally. If you've ever watched a competitive Counter-Strike game, there's a lot of pre-fire in that. In a way, pre-fire can translate over to suppression. All the pros know exactly where to pre-fire, all the pros know exactly where to aim, and overall, if the pro is shooting at a specific angle, the enemy player that he's firing upon will probably not peek out that corner just given that he has a chance of dying pretty much instantaneously. So with that in mind, there really is no reason for Battlefield to ever implement such thing as suppression because it's already in the game. I mean, players know that, okay, these are bullets. I shouldn't go this way. Jumping out in this situation will probably get me killed. And overall, that's what should happen. But now that, Battlefield 3 has implemented suppression, it's just kind of a mess. I mean, I know what they wanted to do with it, but they just completely fucked it up. They did not implement it the right way, and overall, I thought it was just bad. So, hopefully that answered your question. I don't know, I kind of went off on a bunch of tangents there, and I kind of lost my track of where I was actually going with, but I think I got my point across. If I didn't, I'm sorry, and you can resubmit another question, and I'll answer it in the next episode. But let's move on to another question. This question comes from Voodoo, and he says, would you like to have a portal gun? And does this make you think with portals? Man, if I had a portal gun, I would fucking think with portals all day, every day, okay? Like, you have no idea. Portals would be awesome. I'd be like, shit, I'm late for school, boop, boop, I'm at school. Or, I gotta get out of this family situation, bloop, bloop, I'm out. It just, like, hey, look, there's a door. I don't fucking want to open this door today. Bloop, bloop, I just walked through the door. I don't know. It would just be awesome. It'd be kind of weird because it would pretty much change the whole way people think of I don't know, things nowadays. Like, doors would be pretty much obsolete. Stairs would also be obsolete. Any means of transportation would pretty much be obsolete if everyone had a portal gun. But overall, I would say portal guns are pretty cool. So hopefully that answers your question, Voodoo. Alright, moving on to the next question. Comes from Ron. And he says, do you play any kind of sport? If so, how often do you play it? And another one is, do you or did you play tennis sometimes? I competitively every day. Okay, so I'm sorry, my English is so bad and I'm just reading it straightforward. But basically what he's saying is, do I play any sports currently, and did I ever play tennis competitively in a way? So I don't play any sports currently right now. I used to play a lot when I was younger. Tennis was one of them. I guess you can consider martial arts as another sport, but overall that was kind of just like an activity that I did. I would have to say tennis was extremely fun. It was very athletic and made me. I don't know. I truly liked watching and playing tennis at the same time. So yeah, I guess yes, I played sports in the past, but now I don't. I don't know. I just don't have enough time. So I don't know. I guess I didn't even answer your question. So no, I don't. I don't play any type of sports right now. God, I'm just all over the place, aren't I? All right, let's move on to the next and last question. Last question comes from Skankster, and he asks, my actual question is, what do your friends and family think about your YouTubing, and how do they feel about it? So when I told my friends that I started doing YouTubing, I wasn't really too sure what to expect from it. I wasn't really too sure whether or not they would, I guess, accept it in a way, or just completely, I don't know, just push it off to the side as nothing new. When I told them, they were like, "Oh wow, that's pretty cool." And overall, it was something that I kind of expected, but kind of didn't expect. They were pretty accepting of it, and overall, it didn't really come to too much of a shock to them, given that nowadays the world has, I don't know, a bunch of new norms that a lot of things don't really shock people as much as they would, let's say, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. Even though 10 years ago, I'm pretty sure, I don't even think YouTube was out 10 years ago, was it? No, no, that was before YouTubing. But anyhow, so when I told my friends, they were, pretty accepting of it. When I told my parents, when I told my family, I don't know, they didn't really think of it as too much of a big deal. They just thought it was like, oh, he's doing something that, he enjoys, and, it's good for him. I mean, it wasn't like a huge shock, like, I don't know, something like truly absurd, I guess. I mean, I don't know, it doesn't really feel as absurd as it would be, like I said, 10 years ago. So overall, I'm pretty sure they accepted it. It wasn't, a bad thing. It wasn't a like, oh my gosh, you're ruining your life or whatever. So I mean, they're pretty understanding. So I mean, I'm glad for that, and I'm happy that they didn't really think of it in a bad way. So yeah, I mean, I don't really talk about it too much to them, just given that they probably wouldn't understand most of the stuff I talk about. So overall, I'd be pretty much talking to myself. So I kind of keep it separate. I like to do it that way, just given that I don't want to mix them. It's kind of like mixing olive oil and water, or just oil and water in general. They just kind of don't mix, because they have to, I don't know, maybe they have to understand one another before they can actually mix. Man, that'd be really funny if water just understood oil, and then oil understood water, and they'd be like, yeah, let's mix and defy laws of physics, and then all the physicists would just, their brains would explode. They'd be like, this is not possible. Okay, I'm going off on a tangent, but pretty much that's pretty much the last question for today. I was pretty random today. I kind of went off topic on a couple of these questions. So if I didn't answer your question to the fullest, I do apologize, but hopefully I answered them to the fullest. Hopefully you enjoyed this gameplay. I was playing on Karkand with a couple of buddies. Appletini was one of them. And overall, we had a good game. But if you want to submit a question to me for this episode, go ahead and leave me a private message titled Off the Tee. It makes it a lot easier for me to actually find and locate the questions that you want me to answer. And don't be afraid to put a random or funny question. I answer pretty much any question you guys give me, so there's no real limitation on what you guys can ask. And also, don't be thinking that, oh, if I submit a question, he'll never answer it. No, that's not the case. I answered, I don't even know. I answered like 8 questions today. So just send whatever you want to send and whatever you want to ask me, and I will answer it in the next episode. But anyhow, I hope you enjoyed me rambling for, I don't know how long was it, 19 minutes-ish or something. But hopefully you enjoyed the gameplay and my commentary. But like always, my name is T-Space, and I will catch you guys later.